Let's party.
Hello, and welcome to Party Loaded, episode 228. B, totally not the second time we've done this tonight. Not at all.
Totally not.
No, everything's real smooth. So, episode 228 for Wednesday the 19th of August at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. 8 p.m. When we always do the show, of course. But my name's Luke Retallick. Hopefully my audio is coming through loud and clear now. We have joining me tonight, also hopefully on loud and clear audio, we have the gentleman. We have Matt the Game Dad Diet. Hello. What's going on? We have Adrian Chia. Hello. And we have Christian Paulson Brown. That's four of us. We had a cat a moment ago, but the cat's just
gone.
Disappeared.
But
yeah.
I have
bad luck.
That must have been it.
It must have been it. Yeah, Black Cat.
I have better news, guys. Shaker fries are back at McDonald's. They're back, you guys.
I've had them 3 times
They're
already.
back.
You've dated this episode. I do prefer the spicy ones to the cheeseburger one, but
I think I prefer the cheeseburger ones now that I've had.
It's because you like pickles though, and it's got a pickly flavor.
Yeah.
Christian, I'm going to challenge you, Christian, between now and the end of the episode. I know that you have an incriminating photo of Adrian and a load of Shaker Fry seasoning packets. So
I've got tons of incriminating photos.
one of them will do.
Yeah, we have lots of photos of each other. Like now and then, I'll scroll through my phone and there'll be a photo of Christian, and I'll be like, where the fuck did that come from?
I was specifically talking about the Shaker Fry one, though. Like, if you've got more than one Shaker Fry one, then I'm probably not shocked, I guess. But yeah,
there you go.
It's hard to see. That's me with chameleon eyes. I don't know that's nothing weird about that.
Jesus Christ.
I found that one recently.
Christian's true form.
Yeah. You found that one recently leaning over you while you were trying to sleep at night. You snapped a photo. Good Lord. Shaker Fries, yeah. When did those first come out? That's got to be 20 plus years ago.
It was a while ago. I remember being like a kid when the original ones came out, and they came out with the what's it called, the Mexican burger,
El Maco.
It came out with the El Maco, and I was like, oh my god, they found a way to make fries better by putting more flavor on them, and it blew my mind. And then for 20 years, I was always thinking, whatever happened to Shaker Fries? And then not long ago, they brought back Shaker Fries in the cheeseburger flavor. And both my brother-in-laws work for Macca's, and they got me a total of over 100 packets of Shaker Fries.
God, Jesus!
But it turns out that they go bad. Like they go really hard and chalky. So I thought I could keep them forever and stockpile them like a doomsday prepper, but they don't actually last long enough. So the moral of the story is eat as many of them as you can while the promotion is
or prepare for cheeseburger doomsday is the other option, I guess.
One or the other.
It reminds me of back in the day, Samboy actually had this whole thing where you get like a packet of chips and they had like a flavor packet in it. It reminds me of that. Yeah.
Yep.
I sometimes think to myself, I wonder where the gobbledoc is these days.
Jail.
6 years in jail.
Terrible crimes.
Tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
It's in jail for tax evasion.
Yep. Good Lord. Anyway, that's effectively dated the entire episode, and it's it's perfect.
We all look old now. Yeah.
What we need to talk about is a bit more recent tonight, because tonight's episode is all about current generation stuff. So later on this show, we're going to be doing a bit of a quiz. So hopefully everybody who's watching live can take part and participate, and we'll see how we all go, talking about everything that's this current generation of consoles before we sort of ship off into the next one come November. So, because I think it's as of this week, we actually know for sure it's going to be November now. They finally mentioned the date for the Xbox Series X at the very least. So,
no price though.
No. Who knows? maybe the payment plan generation kicks off. Who knows?
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw the entire generation slip, because of the fact that it's been the last couple of days. I've lost count of how many games have slipped to 2021.
That's true.
There's a ton of them.
The one that I just caught today was Deathloop getting pushed as well. Yep.
The new Spider-Man got pushed.
So
that's not coming out. Yep, that's also being pushed back to 2021.
Interesting. All right, well, more of that coming up in the news, of course. But before we get to all of that stuff, we'll talk about the stuff that's actually here and now. What have you guys been playing this week? What's going on?
I wasn't going to talk about this because I think it was interesting, but I'm going to turn it into a complaint session instead.
Okay.
How unusual
for those, I know how off-brand for Adrian. For those, I'll keep the reasoning brief. So currently in Destiny, there's an event on called the Solstice event, and it means you can participate in a bunch of activities to upgrade your armor to be really cool looking. That's the crux of it. One of the steps in this process is to win 7 competitive online matches where you fight in 2 teams of 3. The details of the matches aren't important. The point is...
Trials of Osiris is the name of it.
It's called Trials of Osiris. And this style of competitive fighting is so hard to win when you're so shit at PvP like I am. And it just... if it wasn't for the fact that I'm capable of grinding 150 hours to get a shiny Pokemon, I don't know if I could have done this if I didn't have the kind of mindless fortitude that this kind of task takes. I imagine other people will be immediately turned off. And I just can't understand why it was one of the requirements for this armor. Especially when the Solstice event is kind of billed as being for everyone. But it's not if you can't get a group of friends together and win games. So it's just bullshit. And I hate it.
Look, I can see the machinations in his brain wanting to play devil's advocate. And
no devil's advocate. No. I'll do it for you. It gets people into the game mode.
No.
It's good for creating diversity in the player base. Get fucked.
The only people that end up getting into it are the people that are already interested in doing it in the first place. I don't think
playing it again.
Yeah, if anything, the people that don't want to play it are pushed into it and then just get destroyed in it. And it takes hours and hours and hours to do it. And it just drives them away from ever going back. It'll cause a spike of activity now, but it'll just be a whole bunch of defeated players that just have no interest in ever doing it again.
None of us are complaining about the format of Trials of Osiris. I think it's really a cool mode for people who enjoy that. I think it's good that there's a pinnacle PvP mode, personally.
I think it's a mode with some issues, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. Yeah,
I echo what Christian said. I don't have a problem with it on its own.
It's the requirement.
But forcing you into it and then forcing you to win 7 games is obscene. Obscene.
I think it's even for the moments of triumph seal. I think it's okay there. It is. Fine. Yeah, but this Solstice event, it should not be part of that.
I mean, the plus side for how they organise the seal is that you can totally skip that step and get your because you have to get 28 out of 30 of the requirements. So there's 2 you can deliberately skip, and this could be one of them. So I think maybe they even thought ahead to that being the exact case with this particular requirement. It would not surprise me.
But you can't skip it with the armor.
Yeah, seals, whatever. This what most people want is the armor. Yeah, because that's the thing you actually get to wear and
Well, you totally can skip it if you want to. I mean, it's your boots that it makes glow. You can have your entire set minus your boots glow if you wanted to. But
no, it's a set of armor. So if you miss out on one thing, then that's a massive itch that you can never scratch.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, look, Adrian, I think Trials is fucking painful as hell. I am 100% in agreement with you. Yet, after beating my head against the wall of it the other night with you guys, I kind of want to play more of it and get better at it. That's where I've left. Yeah.
It's one of those things where, I think I would enjoy Trials more if it weren't for the fact that Destiny gets so mega sweaty. It just becomes this huge sweat fest. You're playing against people that are just stupidly good at the game. They have the best gun in the game because they've grinded out the best roll for the best gun in the game. And then, you poke your head around a corner and you see an enemy for half a second and your head's gone. They just are incredibly good at the game. So.
And to be fair, I don't have any problem with losing. I have no problem being beaten, and I have no expectations of being good. at PvP. So the people that might say, "Oh, you just got to get better." The problem is I'm too old, my reflexes are too slow, and I'm just not good at it. So to gate this armor behind that activity, it just seems uncharacteristically harsh. Like that's the main problem I have.
This is going to sound potentially bad, but I feel like the major problem that I have with Trials is that your progression is 7 matches long, and the moment that you lose one of them is the moment that you're done, basically, right? Like, okay, well, I'm not going there this time, right? Whereas you look at a game like Overwatch, and their competitive modes, right? And you have a ranking, and like you're constantly pushing at the ceiling of your current rank. It's like I'm gonna progress into the next one. I feel like if they had something like that with Trials, where it was like, then you could get some sort of skill ranking.
I don't know about that. That's a bad comparison because I fucking hate competitive Overwatch with a passion because of the system they use, and I think it's way worse than Trials. I don't know.
I'm more talking about like at least with Overwatch, there's skill-based matchmaking because of that.
True.
Right?
True.
I mean, that's Overwatch system is pretty standard for like almost all competitive games have like tiered, skill tiers.
Dota does it. Yeah. Dota, League of Legends. Yeah.
And in a way, Destiny already does it with Valor.
Yeah.
But does it matchmake based on Valor?
No.
Right. Because it's just
Valor, you can just gather over time by virtue of doing it.
Well, you're thinking about Glory. Glory's the comp points. Right.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, Matt. Because all it means is that it doesn't matter how good you are; it just matters how many games you've won.
Yeah.
So if a team of 3 Uber players are playing their first game,
you'll get matched against them.
You'll get matched against them, regardless of your own skill level.
Yeah.
Which I agree is.
There's a reason why skill-based matchmaking is such a divisive topic, even in the Destiny community. Like, there's a lot of fucking opinions on how it should be best done, and I don't think there's a good answer like that everybody's happy with at all. So
I actually, for my vote, I don't want that in Trials. I think keep Trials as sweaty as possible, and it's for the sweaty players. Like give them that. Like that's fine. Yeah. I've got Crucible.
So that's true. It's like a quarantine. Keep all of that out of the rest of the game. You're basically saying.
Yeah. I suppose that's the problem though. Like for me, it's like I'd like to get into it. I'd like to have a team of 3, and I'd like to be really good at it. Because I have fond memories of doing Arena in World of Warcraft. And it's like, we had our team of 3, and we constantly tried to push and get better at that. And it felt good to get better at that. Whereas in Trials, you go in there and you get your ass kicked. And it's like, cool, I'm never doing this again. Like, It's just, you just feel immediately beaten down.
Of the 7 games that I eventually did win for it, 3 of them were because an opponent dropped. So it was 3v2. One of them was because I'm pretty sure we had a hacker on the team because he like annihilated, and then the other guy on my team was like, he's a hacker, report him. And I'm like, oh shit. But like, and then I think 3 of them were legit wins. But like 4 out of 7 were like gimmies. Like
for me, 5 of them were being carried by one. We played 5 games, and this one guy on my team had like 13, 14 kills every game. And carried myself and the other guy on the team. One was a guy dropping out, and one was a legitimate one.
Yeah. But that guy who was carrying you must have felt pretty awesome doing so. He's just like, yeah, I'm doing this for the little guy. Yeah.
He was really nice. He was a really nice guy too. And I kept apologizing. I'm so sorry, I'm terrible. He's like, no, it's fine, don't worry. So yeah, I got lucky.
I would definitely like to be better at Trials, but I'd also like to have a unicorn that gave me sensual massages and baked cupcakes for me every day too. But that ain't gonna happen.
Sensual.
Yeah.
Sensual.
Fuck yeah, man. They're a magical creature.
Hooves would not feel good.
But the things they can do with that horn, I tell you what. Anyway, so yeah, Trials is painful. You guys got through. I'm impressed you got through, actually. I haven't done my 7 wins yet. And traditionally, I would have been probably the first one to crank through that. So, yeah.
I never will. I'm not touching it.
I got the glowy armor. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm just lucky that I play a Warlock, and Warlock armor typically sucks ass. And so I just have no desire to bother.
Yeah, that's fair. Anything else, Adrian? Christian?
Adrian.
Either.
I haven't played anything else because Destiny is ruining my life.
I played a little bit more Ghost of Tsushima, but not much, like hardly any. But I'm still enjoying it. Yeah. I didn't really talk much last last podcast about the mechanics of the game itself. I just talked more about the setting. But so I just wanted to say that it has a very, very, very satisfying main combat system, I find. Like it's very based on parries and deflections, and like it's kind of Arkham-y in that sense that you get surrounded by opponents, and then one of them will lunge at you, and then you like parry and attack, or Assassin's Creed, more like the old Assassin's Creed games in a way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But I find it very satisfying, except for archers. Archers are just infuriating because you're like surrounded by 5 guys with swords and a guy with a spear, and you're like watching them and like getting ready to parry when they come in, and then you just get shot from an arrow off screen and like hit stuns you and just like screws up the momentum. And it's like let me just fight these guys with my sword, and you can just like fuck off.
I'll deal with you later.
I've seen that clip doing the rounds, which I think was on one of those Play of the Day sort of roundups or whatever, of the dude infiltrating like a camp in Ghost of Tsushima, and like jumping up in the air and then getting hit by a couple of arrows, and then getting repeatedly hit from all directions, and then not actually dropping because he's still getting pummeled while in the air, and in midair he's just getting knocked back and forth by projectiles. It's hilarious. Yeah.
The game it tries to help you out a little, where like before an archer fires, they'll always like shout out, and so you can always time your dodge or your deflection.
Classic military tactic.
Your thoughts?
They do an in-game justification where they're yelling to their allies to look out.
Look out, yeah.
But it doesn't make sense when there's only like an archer left, and he just yells it to himself. But so almost every encounter for me turns into run into the fight, run around the fight and kill all the archers, and then circle back to like all the actual swordsmen and like just clear off all the distractions first and then have fun. Which is not ideal, but I get through it.
Then have fun.
Yep. Then have fun.
Yeah, eat your peas and then you get the juicy steak, basically. Yeah.
Ugh, peas. Ugh.
Why would you eat your steak last?
And I also wanted to mention, you may have seen in like the promotion, or if you watch reviews, a big thing in the game is the wind system. How there's no like HUD objective markers. It never has like a dot go here. There's no like GPS system. All there is the wind.
It's like
you swipe.
It's like environmental pathfinding. Is that kind of how it's done?
Yeah, it's environmental pathfinding. So there's always tons of particles in the air in the game. It's like it's spewing leaves, and like the grass is like always blowing in the wind. And so you select a waypoint on the map, and then the wind will always blow in that direction. And then you can either just look at the way the wind's going, or if you swipe up on the gamepad, a huge gust of wind will come, and just like make sure you fucking know which way the wind's blowing.
That's really cool. I've never heard of any game doing it like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And when I saw it demoed in the pre-release, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be gimmicky. But I find that it does have a marked impact on my enjoyment of the game, because it really does force you to look at the environment more and to appreciate the environment more. Whereas instead of just beaming straight for like an objective marker, I do notice a lot more stuff in the environment. And then the way that you discover new areas is also all environmentally focused. So the most obvious one is like a golden bird will like fly around, and if you see the golden bird and follow it, it'll lead you to like a new location. Or like you follow a fox and they'll lead you to a new location. Or there's like more conventional ones, like you see smoke on the horizon and that'll be like a camp or something. But the fact that everything is integrated into like this environmental system, so it's all kept ostensibly sort of in reality instead of in like a game HUD level. It's really good.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
If you hadn't played, I know it's a different game mechanically, but if you hadn't played Sekiro, would your opinion of this game be higher?
Probably not. I feel like I'm separating them quite well in my brain. Like, my opinion of this game is quite high. I just need to get further through it, because a lot of my sort of determining factor is how the story goes. Like, I think the world is beautiful and I do enjoy the combat. But if the story ends up being way too cliche or dragging for way too long or something like that, it'll really impact my enjoyment. So other than that, I think the game is great, and that's just a wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, the conversation I've seen going on around it certainly seems to indicate that lengthwise it doesn't overstay its welcome too much. So
that's good.
That sounds promising, at least. Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Yep, I'll update when I pull myself away from Destiny more and get through more.
Well, I should be jumping into Ghost very shortly myself as well, because I have just knocked one of the bigger things off my list this week. I have now finished Persona 4 Golden. I'm done.
True ending?
Yep, I got the true ending. Did the extra content with Marie. Did all the stuff. I actually didn't... I didn't have to refer much to any guides to sort of puzzle out the true ending, because I made a lot of the right decisions anyway. So that worked out well. I did miss out on a couple of things that I would have otherwise liked to do, which I might actually go back into my save file and do with regards to filling out a couple of my relationship sort of progressions with some of the main characters. Particularly Naoto, who's one of the later members of your party that gets introduced, who's kind of like the detective sort of character of this game. There seems to be a detective prince in a lot of the Persona games, is the impression I'm getting. So that's a really interesting one. But you have very, very little time to build up a relationship with that character, to the extent that I think you would almost have to follow a guide exactly to get all of the opportunities in. You might only have like a very small margin of error with how you spend your days. So, yeah. But yeah, my overall sort of feel at the end is that I freaking loved it. I think it was a fantastic game. Like, enjoyed the shit out of it. I'm definitely going to be a Persona / Shin Megami Tensei kind of fan for good now. I think I'll be pursuing those pretty fervently when they release.
Awesome.
But I guess like it would kind of be. It's not entirely fair to kind of compare Persona 4 Golden to Persona 5 Royale, but to not do so wouldn't be entertaining, so I'm going to do it. Because I feel like I have to. Some of the stuff is pretty obvious, but where I kind of land between the two is definitely on the side of P5, which was to be expected. I don't think there's going to be any shocks there. But I would absolutely say that I think that it would only be for reasons of nostalgia that you would land on the other side, because almost every aspect of Persona 5 is better. And I don't mean to say that in an unfair way. I actually think it's to a large extent the objective truth with regards to the core components of the game. Characters, obviously, there's going to be some subjectivity in there. Soundtrack, there's definitely an argument to be made in either direction depending on what you like. But some of the biggest things that I noticed is that the gameplay changes, particularly when it comes to the dungeon progression and the combat, is just so much better crafted in 5 to make it a much more enjoyable experience. And I think that some of the quality of life changes they made in Royal especially just really show through and make it a much more fun game, considering that you're going to be playing it for typically well over 100 hours. I think that really makes a difference. And the character arcs and overall story I just thought was so much better in 5, particularly for reasons of pacing. There was a lot of really low spots in 4 where not a lot was happening, whereas those kind of quiet moments in 5 I thought were really well filled with content that maybe wasn't critical to the main story path, but made you feel like there was a sense of momentum that didn't really let up as much the whole way through. So I would say that for sure. But that's not to take anything away from Persona 4. I think it's still an awesome game. But for me, the gulf between the two is significant, is kind of where I'd say at the end. But what I did do off the back of finishing it and asking Christian about sort of earlier yesterday is knowing that there's actually a Persona 4 anime, I actually went out and sorted that out and started watching a bit of it just to see how it was and whether it kind of, captured the feel of the game or not. And I got to say, I actually think it does. Like, I really enjoy it. I think it's yeah, it's by no means the best quality anime that I've ever seen, but in terms of trying to capture what the game's all about and the main story beats without sort of truncating it too much, I thought it's actually really freaking good. To the extent that it kind of fills out a few minor details around the characters and their backgrounds that maybe you actually don't get in the game, and it sort of rounds it out nicely. So I would almost suggest that anyone who plays it should probably watch it, because I think it actually adds to the enjoyment and the experience rather than kind of, takes away from it. It's a nice little supplement. So
one weird thing it has to deal with is the fact that the protagonist in the Persona games tends to not emote very much and have a very strong personality themselves.
Yeah.
So when you're basing that in an anime, it's kind of like the main character has no personality, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think that conversely, the character of Joker in Persona 5 is even though he's a silent protagonist for the most part as well, he kind of does have a bit more of an entity because of this kind of him as the leader of the Phantom for Thieves. It kind of is crafted in that manner as him being like this mysterious kind of debonair sort of almost like a vigilante, whereas the main character in P4 is very much like a vacant shell for you to insert yourself into as the player. So yeah, it's weird in that respect, but it works. It works surprisingly well. But the one last thing I just want to say before I stop talking the fuck about Persona is that for anyone who's wondering whether they should play Persona 5 or Persona 4 first, I thought a lot about this, and I honestly believe that P5 is the better choice. And I think the reason for that is because if you're going to lock onto this series and become a fan of it, I think having the slightly smoother entry point in terms of quality of life with the way that the game plays is the far better choice. And I think that you'll actually enjoy Persona 4 more as a result if you play 5 first. So that's my feeling, at least.
Well, what's so funny to me is the conversation that you're having is exactly the conversation that was had when Golden came out about 3 and 4. It was you need to play Golden because the quality of life improvements over Persona 3 are so big, and you want to have the best experience you can and not play Persona 3 because it is a similar gap between them. Like I agree completely. Quality of life and like core gameplay loop, the dungeons and everything, far superior in 5. I completely agree. It's just funny, like the echo.
Yeah, and it actually got me thinking about whether this applies to other series too, because the other thing that I played this week, it definitely sort of falls in with that too. So last Wednesday night, Matt and I fired up the stream, and we played through a good chunk of Halo 3, which was like one of my first sort of forays into the Halo universe. I've played a little bit of Reach on my own and enjoyed it somewhat, but it didn't really sort of connect with me like super, super hard because I've never really been like a Halo guy. There's a architecture and a foundation there that I obviously jive with because we're especially talking about early Bungie games. So, I can see the Destiny DNA in there. Like I can definitely feel it. Yeah. And I think that again, it's the same kind of thing. Like playing Halo 3 before playing like Halo 1 and 2 was like a real concern for me. I was like, is this going to ruin the story? Is this going to be one of those things that makes it harder to go back to those other games? But I think that the difference with Halo compared to Persona is that each of the Persona games is its own story that's non-sequential in terms of how it fits, for the most part. Whereas Halo very much does have key story beats that you will kind of have spoiled for you if you do it out of order. But by the same token, some of the earlier games maybe haven't aged that well in terms of what's out there now in terms of shooters. So you kind of do want to play the most fun one if you want to really connect with Halo. So for that reason, I guess it's probably the wise choice that we started with 3. So, but it's a weird feeling. Yeah.
It's interesting because like, I think the gap between Halo 2 and Halo 3 is vastly narrower than the gap between Halo 1 and Halo 2. Like Halo 2 is a massive leap in comparison to Halo 1. Like going back and playing Halo 1, it is very, very dated. Like there's a lot of classical shooter stuff in there. The main reason why I chose 3 was because of the fact that having gone back and played a little bit of Halo 2 this past week, I actually have a little bit of regret not starting off with Halo 2. But that's mostly because like the start of Halo 2 is bombastic. It's ridiculous.
The way you described it made it sound like Mass Effect 2's opening almost. A little bit.
It's very, very Mass Effect 2 opening, where it mellows out towards the end. Whereas Halo 3 is the opposite, where it's very mellow at the start and then it gets bombastic towards the end. Like the part of the game that we just reached where the Flood turn up on Earth and everything like that. That's the point at which I think the game starts to take a turn. Because it's like the next chapter after that, you start having much more open battles and everything. But yeah, like having played through a little bit of it again, like I feel like Halo's actually aged fairly well. Like there's little things in there that it lacks. Like you were pointed out, like no sprint, and I'm like, yes, no sprint.
That was
like,
shocking to me. Yeah.
Whereas most Halo fans would be like, hell yes, no sprint. Like, you know, how dare you put sprint in my Halo game? But yeah, like I feel like 2, 3, ODST and Reach all on fairly even kind of ground. Like any one of them you can play, they're fairly modern. Like they only kind of lack a lot of the more modern thinking in terms of like, you know, shooters need a sprint button, which they're kind of like, nah, we don't need that.
You know the other thing that really caught me by surprise too, which on retrospect, I think I've just been spoiled in this respect, and of course it didn't fucking have it because that wouldn't make no sense, is not having any numbers like show up when you're shooting stuff, like in terms of damage.
That's an MMO thing.
I know, you just get so used to it. It's just incredible when you play something that doesn't have it. It didn't even have the sort of like feedback effect where you're shooting something and the bit that you're hitting is like flashing or anything like that. It's like literally you hope you're hitting the right thing and you think you're doing damage, and it's sometimes really hard to see if you are or not. So
Destiny's very arcadey. Like you feel like it's a very different kind of power fantasy. Like Halo's not meant to. You're meant to feel powerful, but it's still meant to be a struggle. Like you're this massively powerful super soldier, but also like the entire universe is kind of resting on your shoulders, and so things are tough.
Yeah.
Whereas Destiny's basically like, you know, funny Nova Bomb go whoosh, you know, like everything die. It is much more arcadey, and I love Destiny for that reason. I love the fact that it's such a ridiculous.
Halo, you're a soldier. Destiny, you're a superhero, basically.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm glad you enjoyed Halo 3. I've been playing through, like I say, I've been playing through Halo 2 again. And that was primarily inspired by the fact that we were playing Halo 3, and I'm like, I want to go back and play some more Halo 2.
Does 2 have co-op, or is that just 3 onwards?
Yeah. Every single Halo game has co-op. Okay. Every single one. Yeah, they all have co-op campaigns.
Because co-op was wicked fun when it came to the vehicles, I have to say. Like,
vehicle stuff is great. I definitely, like, if we go and play it again, I want to actually get you in the seat of the Warthog so you can actually drive around.
I have a little bit. I know how badly it fishtails and sort of what it feels like and that kind of stuff. And it actually made me realize, holy shit, this is the one thing that this game has over Destiny. Like, the vehicles are awesome. Yeah.
I was playing Destiny just recently, and there was one of the Cabal tanks, and I hopped into it, and I'm like, yeah, let's go, vehicles. And it's like sluggish. It's like, okay, time to round this corner. You know, okay, time to shoot at the enemies. You shoot at them, and it's like, okay, well, that did like 1/100th of their damage, you know. Whereas if I was shooting them with my gun, it's like, okay, well, they're dead in 2 shots.
Yeah.
Like the vehicles have just been kind of this weird forgotten thing in Destiny compared to Halo. But yeah, in Halo, they're just so much fun. Like it is one of those areas where it feels more arcadey than Destiny because of the fact they fishtail all over the place and they just do ridiculous shit. So yeah,
super cool. That's pretty much me. So Matt, what else are you doing?
I'll be relatively quick. I played a little bit of Fall Guys. I had a friend encourage me to actually play it and download it and everything. Yay, yeah. Basically, the exact same thoughts that Adrian had. It seems like a fun spectator sport. I would much more enjoy it if I had friends to play with, and it's like, okay, well, let's get together, let's play some Fall Guys. Oh, I'm out of the game. Okay, that was funny, haha. You know, now I get to watch my friends then barrack for them to try and win, and then laugh at them when they fail. But playing it solo was this exercise in a weird amount of frustration for a party game because people are jerks. Like the point at which I played. So my the first 2 games, I only played like 30 minutes of it. The first 2 games that I played, I was playing by myself. First one gets to the finish line. It's literally the first round. There's a guy just standing there by the finish line. He grabs me and throws me off the edge. Like, just fuck you, basically. Like, you didn't get to qualify.
That's me.
I saw the absolute opposite of that in a clip today where there was a guy who AFK'd in the game and a bunch of people who didn't know him basically grabbed him and helped him along the course so that he didn't get eliminated, and he made it through and they didn't.
The other experience I had was there was a team game, and the team games are basically like, there's no point. Like, there's really no point. What ends up happening is like, okay, we're going to split the teams into 3. 2 of those teams are going to team up, and they're gonna basically bully the third team, and then those 2 teams will go through. and there's nothing you can do because now it's 2v1 in terms of like your team. So the team that I was on ended up being the team that got bullied, and it was basically like we actually started off really strong. We had all of these freaking eggs that we were collecting, and then the other two teams came over and they're like, no, fuck you, and we ended with nothing, and they both had an even amount.
As is their right.
And you just can't do anything about that. It's basically just an exercise in frustration. You just stand there waiting for the round to end because you can't do anything. They're not fighting each other.
Matt, question for you. Did you find the most enjoyable part of the game finishing and then watching everyone else?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
so it's funny in a way that even when playing Fall Guys, spectating is more fun than actually playing it.
It is a spectator sport. It is 100% a spectator sport.
Because I remember crossing the finish line early on, and then it will swap to spectator cam, and I'll pick someone and watch them. It'd be like, oh no, jump, and that was more fun than doing it myself.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I enjoy it. I would agree as well. Like, I don't think it's quite worth the price of entry. Like, I think it's kind of like a $20 game basically to kind of hop in and play. Yeah. But yeah, like that's based on 30 minutes. I feel like I've experienced what I'm going to experience with it. I'll have more fun if I play it with friends, and I've got a couple of friends that were wanting to play it.
It's interesting looking at the explosive popularity it's had this month, though. Like, I think it's another one of those games that's kind of landed in a perfect storm where there's not anything else that's really eating its lunch at this moment in time. So
there was a lot of positive feedback, and now it's actually turned pretty negative recently. Like there's a lot of frustration about the weird kind of progression with the game, that it's very sluggish. You don't earn stuff very quickly. I've seen a lot of feedback in that respect. The fact that people are so sweaty in freaking Fall Guys already, it's meant to be a fun, silly party game, and yet you have these people in there that are like, I'm just gonna fucking win this thing, fuck you, and it turns it unfun.
They need a trials mode.
They need a trials mode.
To be fair, the reason that behavior comes out in people is because there's nothing else to do except win.
Absolutely.
You can do two things: you can win, or you can grab other people and throw them off ledges. So the reason people are assholes is because there's nothing else to do. What I
would love, I was actually discussing this with a friend. What would kind of make Fall Guys better for me is if I could put a bet on somebody else to win. And so I'm still encouraged to try and win the game because you get the special tokens if you win. But then you have that person that you bet on, and it's like, okay, how far behind me are they? All right, I'm going to grab them. I'm going to help them across the finish line. Let's fucking go.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
that would actually be quite fun.
You know what I think would be good is that if you finish early in the match, it'd be good if you get to man some of the obstacles.
Oh,
Like if they're swatting arm or something, if you finish in the top 5, then you appear on the arm and you get to swat it.
As opposed to how other games do it, where that's like the elimination mechanic, where if you get eliminated, you get to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either way.
I prefer your method. Like, I think if you win, you get the privilege of doing that. That's way better. Yeah.
But yeah, the only other thing that I played was Destroy All Humans. It got its remaster. I think it's more of a remaster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun how simple and stupid it is.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I dropped out for a second.
Yeah, you did.
It's funny how simple and stupid Destroy All Humans is. Like, there's nothing to it. Like, it is just run around. It's very comedic. Like, I think I enjoy it mostly for the humor. Lots of really great jokes that have not aged well at all. Really funny characters. But yeah, it is basically just run around and just wreak havoc and destroy all humans, like quite literally as the name says.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually quite good fun. There's some really cool challenges in there. I've been finding myself trying to go and do the challenges, 3-star them. Like, I'm not stopping this challenge until I get my 3 stars. The narrative is fucking stupid. It has the guy from Invader Zim voice acting one of the characters in it.
Brilliant.
Because of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
I had posted up on Twitter. One of my favorite things about the game is loading screens have these references to these classic alien invasion movies. And they're framed so well. The one I posted up had like the alien character that you play as fully shadowed, but you can see like his big white toothy grin and glowing red eyes, and he's sitting there petting a human brain. And it's fucking great. Like I love that shit.
Yeah.
But the game's very shallow. There's not a lot to it. It's mostly the humor that's enjoyable, pretty much.
So it's like Mars Attacks, the video game, basically.
Quite literally, yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. That's what I've been playing.
Nice. Oh, well, Destroy All Humans is cool. It looks like a bunch of fun. Do you think it's child suitable? Like kids would enjoy it? Not too edgy with the humor?
There's some. I don't know if I'd say it's for kids, but at the same time, like most of it's pretty PG.
Yeah.
Like it makes a lot of adult jokes, but you wouldn't know they were adult jokes unless you were an adult. Like it does that kind of child.
How many probing jokes are there, Matt?
Oh, okay. Look, you get an anal probe gun, so
okay, cool.
Like it's actually quite funny. Like you shoot at people, they run around with their hands on their ass, screaming about how you need to stop that, and then their head explodes. It's freaking great.
Perfect. That's sold. Oh man. All right. Well, cool. Destroy All Humans. Let's kick into some news because there's actually been a bit of stuff going on this week. So I would like to kick off with probably the biggest thing that has been dominating headlines, like inside and outside of the industry this week, which of course is Epic Games versus Apple. So I'm sure that you've all caught bits and pieces of this, if nothing else. So basically, the long and short of it is that Epic Games has pretty much gone to war with Apple over various conditions in the iTunes store, the App Store, around basically how much money they're able to make and the level of agency they've got sort of controlling their income stream and that sort of stuff. There's a lot of sort of technical legal detail around it, but at the end of the day, I think Apple at the moment makes generally about 15 to 30% of the revenue off all of the sales on the App Store.
30.
It is straight 30? I don't know if that's changed over time or not, but the issue with games like Fortnite, of course, is that that puts them in an interesting situation when it comes to sales of in-game assets and cosmetics and all that sort of stuff, because you've got this model which is kind of forcing them into interacting with the iTunes or the iPhone or the iPad or whatever, the iOS kind of payment sort of mechanics and sort of streamlining it through that part of the system instead of their own way, which means it's really hard for them to make changes on the fly and your lack of control. And of course, they sort of sacrifice quite a bit of the revenue they would otherwise be making, and it seems to be a big sticking point. But Apple, obviously, one of the biggest games in town. They've got a huge share of the phone market in particular, and in terms of the App Store, it's still the dominant force out there. But Epic has basically made some moves this last week and decided to rock the boat. They decided to make some changes to Fortnite, which basically I think was framed in a way that it was to the best interest of all of the players, because it was cutting them a discount, but still sort of breaking the rules as far as what they're allowed to do in the App Store. And Apple turned around swiftly and basically banned Fortnite from their devices, removed it from the store. And then Fortnite's response, Epic's response, was a really, really interesting one. So they actually parodied a very old ad that Apple made, which at the time was kind of meant to frame themselves as the underdog at war with Microsoft at the time, referencing George Orwell's original 1984 sort of novel about the sort of technology impacted dystopian future that we're potentially heading towards, and that kind of stuff. And then Epic basically made their own spin on that, which I'm just going to throw up now. So. Have I got it? No, I don't. All right, I'll insert it later. But yeah, you can go search it up. It's Epic Games Apple ad. You'll find it pretty easily. It paints an interesting picture. But unfortunately, what they did at the same time is they basically tried to mobilize their user base against Apple. And as Christian put it earlier in the week, I think this was the perfect framing. Basically, turning their player base into digital child soldiers to fight the war for them on behalf of everybody against Apple. So. Yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting week. There's a whole bunch of shit going on with Google and YouTube at the moment, and them trying to mobilize their user bases as well. And
in Australia,
yeah, like there's just an ongoing theme of these kinds of services, like giant billion-dollar corporations versus giant billion-dollar corporations, and trying to get their users in on the fight. Which that aspect in particular kind of fucking sickens me, I have to say. Yeah.
It's really funny because in both cases, with both Google and with Epic, they're acting like they're the underdog. Like Google's acting like the Australian government's gonna, make all of our data go through big news corporations, and it's like you're bigger than any big news corporation.
Yeah.
And the same goes for Epic. Epic's acting like they're an underdog in comparison to Apple. They're just a different kind of company.
Yeah.
And like this whole thing, like. What I will say, like the video they did, I actually fucking love. I think that it is really funny to kind of turn that around on Apple. But this was all planned. Like the whole way that this executed, basically they come out on iOS with these changes to Fortnite that put all of this stuff inside the game. So all the microtransactions is inside the game. Which is against Apple's terms of service. So Apple goes and removes it from their marketplace, and then within 12 hours, Epic has a court case and a trailer that they put up to their fans. Like it was 100% planned out in advance. Like they basically were counting on Apple removing them from the App Store, so that they could actually start this legal proceeding. And that's messed up. Like I actually 100% agree with Epic. But at the same time, like turning it on, like, hey, look, free freaking Fortnite and advertising that to kids is really, really messed up. That's their core audience.
Yep, 100% agree. Like, I don't mind them being ready for that fight and sort of being cunning in the way that they set everything up and sort of, the dominoes falling in place one after the other. Mobilizing their user base is the point where they lose me. That's where I get pissed off. Yeah. Everything else.
I actually side with Apple. Personally.
Okay, well, explain sort of what your thoughts around that are without sort of obviously going too far into it. Yeah.
I think that if you want to play ball in their court, you have to play by their rules. And if everybody on their platform takes a 30% cut, then why should Epic be any exception? And why, like, you can't expect to just get free real estate on the App Store and not give anything back.
Yeah. I don't think people necessarily disagree with that. I think what they're kind of helping to push towards is an environment where they're not the only game in town anymore. Like the monopoly is the thing that people want to break up. It's not necessarily
I don't see how this achieves that though. This isn't because Epic have they've done that on PC. They've got their Epic Game Store. I don't know how this move doesn't create competition to my mind.
What it potentially ends out doing is it wouldn't be a situation where only Epic gets benefit, right? Though 100% I actually do agree with you. Like Epic is framing this like they're fighting the big man for the benefit of all developers or anything like that. They're fucking not. Like they want to get more money out of the App Store. Like that's the reason they're doing this. But what would change basically is that all of those developers that are restricted and basically told, hey, any microtransactions that has to go through the App Store would instead get the opportunity to have like third-party applications where it's like, okay, well, you can actually run your transactions through this third-party thing instead.
That'd be terrible. I think that'd be terrible for Apple to have to do that, right? Because then that just creates a backdoor that people can sell extra shit on their store without them getting a cut. So you could just create the Epic Games Store app, which Apple gets nothing from, and just sell games through their own app. Like Apple is entitled to a cut of everything that's sold on their platform, in my view.
Yeah, I do agree, but I don't necessarily think it needs to be a 30% cut. Like I think 30% is very, very high.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah.
I think that's the key thing is that 30% of literally every transaction on the App Store is a lot for how very little they actually provide other than the devices, essentially.
I think it's fine to be cynical about Epic's motivations in this, in terms of them being very cunning and obviously, being interested in the bottom line as far as how their dollars are going to be impacted. But the one thing I will say is that it is consistent with what they've been doing in recent years with regards to putting the focus on assisting developers in the industry and kind of trying to have a rising tide that floats all boats, because ultimately, long term, that benefits them, and they understand the long game very well, I think. So what they're doing is inherently focused on the long game and benefiting the entire industry rather than just them as an individual company right now, even though that will ultimately be the long-term effect as well. I think what they're doing could potentially, if it works, benefit a lot of people in a less cynical fashion. But it's going to be viewed different ways by different people, because at the end of the day, they're still like a $1 billion corporation, and it's hard for them to take the moral high ground. Yeah, I
think it'd be great if they could create their own platform on mobile somehow, outside of, like, obviously it's difficult with Apple, right? But I don't know, like it just feels like what they've done on PC. I like that's a good move. They've created their own alternative to Steam because they don't want to give Steam a cut. Their hands are tied a little more on mobile, but I wish they could figure out a way of doing that.
Yeah. Part of the argument they're facing now as well, that Apple's facing, is whether they have actually stepped over the line since these events and been treating Epic unfairly in an uncompetitive manner, which they could actually sort of fall on the losing side of the legal argument with. And that's evolved particularly around Apple actually removing other Epic Games resources that are available on iOS, including Unity developer tools. So it seems like they're punitively sort of going after them in a way that is actually anti-competitive. So
Unreal development.
Sorry, Unreal, not Unity.
Not Unity. Different engine.
Yeah.
But quite literally, like, what that essentially means is that all these Unreal developers, because of the fact that Epic has been locked out of the system and all of the Epic tools related to app development are locked out, everybody that has an Unreal developed game is potentially going to lose their game off the App Store because it's all banned.
That's super shit.
It's all part of it. Yeah, like that is mega shit.
Yeah.
But so my take on all of this, I'm not taking sides. I don't agree with either fucking one of them. They're both gigantic mega corporations, and they're both out for their own fucking benefit. Like, this doesn't benefit anybody else. Like, I quite honestly think, like, whoever, if I were to choose one of them, I'd say Epic, because there's actually some benefit there for me. But they're both gigantic mega corporations that are just out to make their own money. Like there shouldn't be a good guy in any of this. Like, Epic set this up and put Apple in a corner, and now developers are suffering for it because all the fucking Unreal tools are banned on iOS. Yeah. Like, great, cool. Like, the developers you're apparently fighting for have just been fucked over because of your move for more money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any good guy in this.
The collateral damage is not a good thing. I think we could all agree on that. Yeah. So that...
I find the whole thing very dark, and, like, I just kind of want to slip my wrists and die when I think about the amount of money that's being fought over. Like,
Absolutely.
I can't process it well enough to think about it intelligently enough. All that comes to mind is ultimately, like, my tiny, insignificant place in the universe compared to, like, the amount of money I make per hour compared to the amount of money changing hands between Epic and Apple. And I'm like, why does it, like, it takes me to a dark place that, like, I kind of enjoy but shouldn't spend too long in. Like, it just makes me wish for the heat death of the universe.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you start to, like, I watched a series of documentaries not long ago called Rotten on Netflix, and it was about, like, big agriculture and, like, this huge, like, massive agricultural businesses, a lot of them in China, that are just, like, when you scale up to, like, that level of, like, macro business, it's just mind-boggling and depressing. And that's what happens when I read a news article like this. I get too disenfranchised from my fellow man and start to turn into a dark psychopath.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, neither one of these companies, like, the stakes aren't high for either of them, right? Like, it's fucking awful.
I don't know. I think the stakes are a bit higher for Epic personally, given how things could go badly if they overextend. But even so, we're talking about not a company-ending sort of event. We're talking about something that could dent them.
Freaking billions of dollars off of Fortnite on PC and all the consoles. Like for them, like this is they wouldn't have done it if they weren't, calculating the risk of losing.
What we could be getting into though is precedent-setting territory for future similar sort of cases. That's where everything starts to matter. Yeah.
Weaponizing their fan base is icky.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but part of me is just like whatever. Like that's just the world we live in. Like it's kind of this like prescriptive idea of it, where like if it happens and it works, then it's just like that's just part of the world we live in. Like and if the general populace aren't like self-aware enough not to be a child soldier, then that's just the way our wars are going to be fought from now on.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
like we have no one. We have no one to blame but ourselves. Is like my mind frame on it. Like, yes, they're weaponizing us, but we're letting ourselves be weaponized. So we deserve it.
Oh, we're weaponized in other ways that matter a whole lot more than video games these days. I can say that. So, yeah, you want to talk icky? That's a whole other topic which we won't get into. Anyway, so Apple Epic. I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about that for quite a while, because that's probably. I think that might end up being one of the biggest news stories of the year in terms of the games industry. So, yeah,
I can think of a bigger news story.
Oh yeah, go on. What do we got?
I mean, of the year, COVID.
Well, yeah. Sure. That's going to extend far past 2020. I thought you were going to segue into something else. What else you got?
I will. I'll just quickly talk about some DLC that was announced for Ghost of Tsushima today. So it's called Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and it's a free update that's coming to anyone who owns the game. It's adding a suite of like multiplayer modes. So there's going to be, it's up to 4-player co-op, and it's a completely different sort of map and setting to the main campaign. It's like a much more mythological, supernatural setting, where it's basically like a hellscape, like a feudal Japanese hellscape with like demons and all sorts of stuff, and like undead. And you play as, it's kind of like Left 4 Dead. There's 4 set characters. There's a what are they? A samurai, a hunter, a ronin, and an assassin. And then if you're playing 2-player, there's like story missions. There's actual like co-op story missions you do in this new setting. If you're playing 3 or 4-player, then it's more like a horde mode survival situation. But they've said that each of the different like classes has like unique abilities and advantages and that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's completely out of left field, I think.
This ranks up there with something I did not expect to hear this week. That's for frickin' sure. That's bizarre.
One of the most surprising things too is they actually said that they're going to add a raid as well. They actually use the word raid.
Yeah.
It says if you can best the story and survival missions, you may be confident enough to take on the 4-player raid that will arrive shortly after the launch of Ghost of Tsushima Sessions Legends. So like, there's a raid coming for Ghost of Tsushima.
It's cool.
Can I be an archer?
Yeah. One of them's definitely an archer. I know. Yeah.
I just like the idea of grunting like Novak Djokovic every time I fire an arrow.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
But it might be fun to check out when you get into the game, Luke, if this arrives.
Well, I was going to ask, like, because you're notoriously someone who very rarely goes back into games once you finish them for DLC. And I guess timing wise, this might actually come out before you get to that point, depending on when it drops. That's the thing, is
if this comes out like 6 months from now, I might not be interested. But they haven't actually said exactly when. They've just said soon.
Right. Interesting.
And also because it is visually sort of so different from the rest of the game. In a way, it feels like an alternative experience instead of just like DLC add-on. Like it's not going back to the main campaign to play a new story mission or get some new armor. It's like a separate supernatural horror. It's like Japanese horror survival thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. I'm all for it. I think it sounds awesome. Yeah. Super, super good. What else is awesome?
Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Tsushima. Yeah, I like it.
Speaking of other cool new stuff, so last night there was another Nintendo Indie World presentation. A whole bunch of games got announced for the Switch that are well-known indie titles that are basically getting Nintendo Switch ports. So Hades is getting a Switch port. Grindstone is getting a Switch port.
I 100% play Hades on Switch. Fuck yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hypnospace Outlaw, which we've actually played on stream, is actually getting a Switch release. That's a perfect combo, I think.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. That's weird. I think
it actually will work. I think it'll work for it.
Okay.
Manifold Garden, which is a fucking brilliant game. That's coming out on Switch. And then there were a whole bunch of other announcements of new games that I hadn't actually... I've not actually seen trailers for them before, but they may have been there before. One called Takeshi and Hiroshi, Bear and Breakfast, A Short Hike, which I've talked about before, was one of my games of the year last year. Absolutely brilliant little game that's coming out.
Just sounds like your agenda for the weekend, Matt.
Yes.
Bear and Breakfast, Short Hike.
Garden Story, so like that'll be the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Short hike through the Garden Story. Yep, that connects.
Yep. Manhunt.
Card Shark for the evening.
Yeah.
Spiritfarer, which I'm actually playing at the moment. That one has a gorgeous little trailer. A brilliant game so far. I haven't put that much time with it yet. But easily my favorite announcement from the evening was Goose Game. Goose Game.
Fuck this goose.
Untitled Geese Game now.
Yeah.
So it's getting a multiplayer co-op mode, which looks fucking hilarious. So yeah, it's Untitled Goose Game, but now there's a second goose. So twice the goose action. I was trying to think of good puns, but I couldn't come up with anything.
I gotta say, I'm not interested now unless there's a goose raid. That's
Goose Raid.
that's my bar. Yep.
Ghosts of Tsushima.
Geese of Tsushima. Geese of Tsushima. That should be it.
Yeah. Oh, good God.
But yeah, no, like it was a great little event. Nintendo always does a really good job with this stuff. The fact that they've highlighted a whole bunch of indies and there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff on the way. Yeah, and Goose Game. Can't go wrong with Goose Game. I 100% want to actually play that on stream with somebody now and do co-op geesing. Like, that sounds great.
So, Matt, I've not actually played Untitled Goose Game before at all. So,
there you go.
So that we could do that. We totally could do that.
It's a free update for me. You have to buy it, though.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd be happy to buy that. I think it's something that my kids would enjoy, so I'd be keen to do that.
Oh,
yeah,
100% would. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I think my kids are actually at the age now where they're getting into indie games a bit more. My eldest in particular has just discovered Undertale, and he will not stop seeing fucking Megalovania everywhere in the house.
I love that. That makes me very happy.
Holy shit! Yeah, he was actually playing it at school in one of his classrooms today, apparently. So
hell yeah,
yeah,
that's hilarious.
That's cool. Anyway,
well, there goes any hope of him not growing up to be pretentious.
Nice. Yeah, it's kind of weird, Undertale, to think of that as like a current gen game, but it absolutely is. So it's not actually as long ago as you would think, despite the fact that it's kind of been entered into almost like the annals of game history now. But but yeah, current gen is our topic for tonight. So let's pivot neatly out of some news into our the great console generation quiz. So as we head towards the end of the year, and we're sort of barreling towards it at a rapid pace at the moment, things are getting there very, very quick. We've got a few major releases yet to go before we're all wrapped up on the current gen of consoles, with the exception of Switch, which kind of is that weird sort of cross-gen timing, and it sort of fits, over both, but we're going to talk about it tonight still anyway. We thought it might be fun to kind of like do a bit of a wrap-up of stuff that's happened over the course of the last, 7 years essentially, and put it into a bit of a quiz format. So it's going to be a much more recent history kind of nostalgia in terms of things that have happened over the course of... The thing that put it in perspective for me is this is basically the lifespan of Party Loaded. This is kind of, because this podcast has been current gen. It's almost covered the entire span, actually. So this is pretty much like the history of our show in quiz form for the generational discussions. So it's interesting frame for it. Yeah. So there we go.
Does that mean we all die at the end of this generation?
Right.
Finally.
Let it purify.
Who knows?
Relief.
Finally, I will get a matte slim.
Oh, that's awesome. No, we just come up with crappy names that don't actually fit with the ongoing convention at all. just add letters.
That's
Adrian Pro.
No, I'd be some like cheap knockoff Asian console that like is like 15 games in one.
Like the Chior or something like that.
What was that one we saw at the cinema? The PS. What was it? It was like
Christian's talking about on the weekend. My wife had her 30th, and we, for whatever reason, we're at a cinema, and Christian and I were standing in front of like a game machine, like a game machine with prizes in it, and one of the prizes was a box about this big, with like some weird PS Vita style thing on the front, and it was like
PS. It wasn't the PSP. It was like a PSS 3000.
Yes, it had 3000 in the name.
Yeah, and it's a new 16-bit game. It had Sonic on it. Like
the 3000 is how you know the quality is just right there. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's actually the next generation.
All of our next generation versions of ourselves are going to have names like Elon Musk's kid.
Oh,
yes.
God, no. God, no. All right.
I can't even remember the name. It's like
X Ash A12.
What? Yeah.
It's like SR12, isn't it?
Literally the thing that I heard Elon Musk say was X Ash A12. That is the kid's name.
It is
I know
bizarre.
that part of it was
It's a
named after their
mathematical
favorite
formula.
cat.
Yeah.
That's the A12.
Right.
Yeah.
We're finally there. We're in the future. Where we have serial numbers instead of names.
It's probably not far wrong, actually.
We did it, gang.
Yep. All right. Anyway, the way this is going to work tonight is all four of us have come up with a set of questions, which basically relate to, as a general theme, the current just wrapping up generation of consoles. So there might be a tiny bit of PC tie-in here, but for the most part, it's console related because there's obviously going to be some games, etc., that will be on PC as well as consoles. So I think it's impossible to stop that kind of bleed to a certain extent. But and so we're going to go around and each of us get a chance to answer those questions, and each of us get a chance to ask our questions, basically. And if you are watching the show live and are in the chat, then by all means, please feel free to jump in and post your guesses as well. Guys, I'll just ask all of us to sort of ignore the chat for the purposes of not getting any hints that could actually help us. Or even better, if you've got some paper or something, write your answers down. Yeah, like what Adrian's doing. So
I learned from Christian from our music quiz.
that's a good call, actually. So
And for those in the chat playing along, if you get a better score than us, you get to replace us on the podcast.
Oh, thank God. I'm going to throw this so bad.
We all got 0. Oh.
I don't have a piece of paper, but I've got a tile that I've been using to paint miniatures, so I'll just use that as a whiteboard.
You're going to paint your score on there.
Yeah, well, I'll use a marker, yeah. I'll probably test that this is going to work. Oh yeah, there we go. That'll rub off. Cool. All right. Yeah, I'm sorted. most makeshift freaking solution ever. This is hilarious. All right.
I'm ready.
Let me take your order.
Sensational. All right. Well, I'm happy to go first and ask my set of questions if you guys would like.
Yeah.
Sure.
Alrighty, so now I have deliberately sort of picked a bit of a theme for my set tonight, and mine are pretty much all themed around Xbox, which I'll confess was actually the console that I have pretty much known the least about over this generation because I've been much more of a PS4 sort of focused gamer. So this was a good excuse for me to actually, spend a bit of time sort of, I guess, pushing out the boundaries of some of my knowledge of Xbox and Microsoft over the last gen. So, yeah.
It's green.
It's green, yeah. This is the green bit, yeah.
Whenever I think of the Xbox, my whole life, whenever I've thought of it, I just think of Monster Energy drink.
Yeah.
It is very
that's fair.
Monster Energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so mine is kind of chronological, so I'll kick off with the first question, which actually relates to the initial reveal of the Xbox One, okay? So now I consider this one to be a reasonably easy question, but then maybe one or two of you might struggle with this one. We'll see. So the initial reveal of the Xbox One was so bad that Sony's stocks actually exploded and went up immediately by about 9% when it happened. Okay, so I don't know if you remember this, but originally the Xbox One was planned to have requirements for an internet connection at all times. It was going to have complete DRM sort of packaged into the console. There was heaps of missteps sort of along the road to launch, including not being able to play used games, requiring a Kinect in order to function, because those were super popular at the time. And Sony really capitalized on all of that and didn't miss a beat. And one of the funny things that they did is they actually released a short instructional video just to poke fun at Microsoft. So my first question is, what was this video demonstrating? If you can recall. So the piss take video that Sony put out, the instructional video poking fun at Microsoft, what was it demonstrating? All right. So this question is not multiple choice, but most of the others are, because I think this one you'll probably... If I made a multiple choice, it'd be a little too easy. All right. Has everybody got their answers?
Yep.
All right. So, Matt, what did you have first?
I had loaning games to friends.
Loaning games to friends. Nice. Adrian, what did you have?
I had urine testing every 15 minutes.
Awesome. Christian, what did you have?
I had Adam Boyes hands a game to Shuhei Yoshida, aka sharing on PS4.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm actually...
You know the really depressing thing is I knew that answer, but I chose not. I chose urine testing instead.
That's hilarious. So this is actually the video now, so, like, this is literally it. It's like a 20-second video. It's hilarious.
Oh, I got them reversed. Shuhei hands it to Adam.
Yeah.
Christian's wrong. I get the point.
You didn't say names at all.
No, I didn't say names at all. Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. So, all right, cool. So 1 point each to Christian and Matt to kick things off. And Adrian gets a funny bone point, which counts for absolutely nothing. So, awesome work. Okay. Second one leads immediately off after that. So after that, Microsoft did some major backpedaling. They reduced the always online requirement to once a day before removing the feature altogether completely. DRM was removed. The Xbox One originally did launch with Kinect, but later versions of the console could be bought without one at a much, much lower price, which, helped to fix that a little bit. Not that made people who already owned an Xbox One with the Kinect that happy. That was a bit of a slap to them. But in addition to all of that, there was actually a huge day one patch waiting for users upon purchase and booting up of the console for the very first time. And this was a big talking point in the media as well. So my question is, what did this patch actually do? Now, I'm going to give you multiple choice of 5 options. Okay? What did the patch do? So, first option is it installed software required to actually access the Xbox Online Store. Option 2 is it removed the need for the Kinect to be plugged in at all times. Number 3 is it deleted the last traces of the DRM software. Number 4 is it removed references to an as yet unannounced first-party title that had actually been cancelled during development. Or number 5, it was required for the Xbox One to actually function at all, period. All right, so I can repeat those if you like. Option 1, it installed software required to actually access the Xbox Online Store. Option 2, it removed the need for the Kinect to be plugged in at all times. Option 3 is it deleted the last traces of DRM software. Option 4, it removed references to an as yet unannounced first-party title that had actually been cancelled during development. Or option 5, it just made it work at all, period. All right. Christian, let's go to you first this time.
I put 3.
3? So you think it was for deleting the last traces of the DRM software? All right. Yeah. Matt, what did you have?
I think 5. I've just gone for everything in above, basically.
Yeah. Make it work at all. All right. And Adrian, what did you have?
I put all of the above.
Okay, so yours is essentially 5 as well. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Matt and Adrian, you are correct. So the Xbox wouldn't have actually worked at all without that day one patch. That was a huge controversial talking point. Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking broken as balls. Like it without it, you basically owned an extremely expensive, oversized paperweight, and that's it. So bad.
That required an internet connection to run.
Yeah. Super bad. Super bad.
Just like every paperweight I own.
Yeah. All right.
Smart paperweights.
Question number 3. This one is around the original launch title lineup for Xbox One. So, original lineup of launch titles for Xbox when the console was released within that first sort of week was actually 21 games. So my question is, which of the following games was not an Xbox One launch title in 2013 when it came out? Okay, so you want to pick the one that's not a launch title. All right, first option, there's 5 to choose from. First option is Sunset Overdrive by Insomniac and Blind Squirrel Games. Option 2 is Forza Motorsport 5, or Forza Motorsport 5 by Turn 10 Studios and Microsoft Studios. Number 3 is Killer Instinct by Double Helix and Microsoft Studios. Number 4 is Call of Duty Ghosts by Infinity Ward and Activision. And the 5th option is Rise, Son of Rome by Crytek and Microsoft Studios. So is it 1, Sunset Overdrive, 2, Forza Motorsport 5, 3, Killer Instinct, 4, Call of Duty Ghosts, or 5, Rise, Son of Rome? Which one is not the launch title? All right.
As a sneak peek for my quiz, I had this exact same question.
Oh, really? Interesting. All right. Okay, well, Christian, I would assume you get it right then, so I'll ask you last. Adrian, what did you have?
Is it Killer Instinct?
All right, Matt, what did you have?
I had Sunset Overdrive.
And Christian?
I had Sunset Overdrive.
It is Sunset Overdrive, yeah. So Sunset Overdrive was actually released in October 2014, a full year later, so there you go.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. Good game by all reports, and by all reports I mean Adrian played it and told us. Basically, yeah.
It's good if you like it.
Yeah. Sure.
Things are good if you like them.
What a review.
Yeah. All right, question number 4. At E3 2018, so jumping forward a number of years, Phil Spencer was up on stage and announced for Microsoft a large number of new partnerships, including 5 new studios to come under the first-party Microsoft Studios umbrella. Okay? So they said, we got 5 studios that are now part of Microsoft Studios. Which of the following was not one of the 5 announced at that time? Okay? I'm going to give you a list of 7, and 2 of these are actually not studios that were announced as one of the 5. All right?
So we just need to pick one of the 2.
You need to get both to get full points.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the options are Undead Labs, Rare, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, The Initiative, Playground Games, and Compulsion Games. So from the top again, we have Undead Labs, Rare, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, The Initiative, Playground Games, and Compulsion Games.
When was the date for this?
This was E3 2018. So it would have been July 2018. The announcement was
half
made.
a point for one.
I'll give you half a point if you get one. Yeah, sure. Be an interesting tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Matt, let's go with you first. Which do you think are the 2?
I'm pretty sure one of them is wrong. So I think that you've done a kind of trick question here because dates matter. But I went with Ninja Theory and Double Fine.
Okay. All right. Christian, what did you have?
I went with Rare and Ninja Theory.
Okay. Adrian?
I just chose 2 at random. I chose The Initiative and Compulsion Games.
Compulsion Games. All right. So, The Initiative was actually the brand new studio that was formed at that time and was one of the 5 announced, so that's not one of them. That one was the one formed out of one of the... I'll have to look it up, but it was basically a whole new operation that was sort of kicked off at that time. They hadn't actually released anything yet, and I believe they're still working on their first big release. They've currently not got any runs on the board, so to speak, but that was one of the 5. Ninja Theory was absolutely one of the 5 announced at that time, so they were fresh off the back of the success of Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice, and they were acquired around that time. Undead Labs was one of the 5, so that was absolutely not the answer you're after. Playground Games was one of the 5. And Compulsion Games was one of the 5. So the 2 year after was Rare, which was already part of Microsoft Studios before this announcement. They'd be one of the way earlier acquisitions. And Double Fine was the other 1 year after, because Double Fine was announced as an acquisition much, much later. That was, I think, a full year or so afterwards. So there you go. So Rare and Double Fine, not one of the 5.
So half point for me?
Half point for you and Matt. Yep.
Yep.
All right. And the last one, probably a bit more current, because we're going to be talking about at the exact time of recording right now. Real simple question, guys. What is the highest rated Xbox One exclusive as per Metacritic Metascore right now? And by Xbox One exclusive, PC is fine because a lot of the Xbox games are actually available on PC as well. But this is exclusive to Xbox and not on Switch or PlayStation. So what is the highest rated out of these exclusive games? You've got option number 1 is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Option number 2 is Forza Horizon 4. Option 3 is Call of Duty Ghosts. And option 4 is Rise, Son of Rome. What do you think?
Okay.
I'll go to Adrian first for this one. What do you think?
It's a Call of Duty Ghosts.
All right. Matt, what's your guess?
I went with Forza Horizon 4.
Forza. All right. And Christian?
I was super tempted to go for Forza because it seems like the kind of underdog one, but I went for Ori.
You went for Ori? Christian, you done goofed. You should have gone with Forza.
Forza. The reason I knew it was Forza was because of the fact that I don't pay attention to sports games, and I knew that Ori was good, but I'm like, no, I've heard really good things about Forza.
Yeah,
like should have, because like Luke wouldn't put Forza on if it wasn't like it's Forza. Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah,
and Call of Duty Ghosts being an exclusive. Come on.
Yeah. That was a deliberate fuck you. Yep, that's it. Yeah, it was Forza. I've played Forza 4, and Forza 4, for someone who doesn't enjoy driving games, that game's fucking good. I actually think it's really awesome. So
it was one of the actually the only racing game that's ever made it to my Twitter feed with people playing it that are like, holy shit, this game's amazing.
Yeah.
Other than like the old Burnout games, pretty much. So.
Yep. Hell yeah. So anyway, that is the 5 questions from me. So who would like to jump in next?
I'll go next.
Yeah, go for it. Have we still got 5? Did you have an extra one after I burned one of them?
I'll scrap the Xbox release title.
I can loan you one.
Maybe, because there's a lot of crossover. But I do have the same question for PS4 though.
Okay, cool. That works.
My first question is going to be, which of the following was not a day of release launch PS4 game?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just one out of these options. I think I've got 5 options. So the options are Killzone Shadowfall, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Infamous Second Son, Warframe, and Knack. So one of those games was not a day one release for the PS4. Which one was it? Killzone Shadowfall, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Infamous Second Son, Warframe, and Knack.
Okay.
And Luke, what did you pick? Warframe?
Mm-hmm.
Adrian?
Black Flag?
Matt?
I had Infamous Second Son.
You were the only person to get it right. It's Infamous Second Son.
Nice. Yeah, I had a feeling that might be a similar situation to Sunset Overdrive.
Was that not a launch title? Second
No,
Son.
it had the exact same issue that that Sunset Overdrive had, where it was announced as a launch title and then it got delayed.
It was launch window.
Yeah.
Yeah, how big's a window? Yeah. A full year? That's not a fucking launch window.
Yeah.
So my next questions, I've got a rapid fire one. They're all worth half a point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's just call out your answer first. We're not going to write these ones down. It's a call out one. So before gaming hardware is released, they usually have like a code name, an internal development name. And often these code names leak out and people are aware of them before releases. So you may have heard of some of these before. So it's just going to be first person to call out what the actual end product hardware name was for these code names. And they're all from this generation. If you guess wrong, then you have to shut up and let somebody else guess. You can't just go this.
Are we going to call out the answer, or are we going to call out our name like as the buzzer?
Call out your name. Let's do it that way.
Okay, cool.
Then we clear the air and then you answer. All right. So the first one is Orbis.
Matt. Xbox One.
Wrong.
Okay.
Anyone else? Not the Orbis.
Orbis.
No takers.
Adrian. Was it the Nintendo Switch?
Nope. And Luke, just have a guess.
I'm going to guess it was the Pro Controller for Xbox.
Orbis was the PS4.
No shit. Okay. Interesting.
Next one. Durango.
Matt. I'll go with Xbox One again.
It was the Xbox One.
Nice.
The next one is the NX.
Luke.
Luke?
That was the Switch.
That was the Switch.
Yep.
The next one is the Morpheus.
Luke. That was the Xbox One X.
No.
Okay.
Someone else?
Oh, damn it.
Morpheus.
I know what it is. Fuck.
Yeah.
Adrian. Was it Stadia?
No. Good guess.
No, I better guess. I have no idea. Morpheus.
No.
Which one?
It was the PSVR.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense.
So far, I think Luke and Matt, you've got half a point.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is the Scorpio.
Luke.
Oh, shit.
Luke?
That's the One X.
Yes, that's the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
The next one is the Neo. This one's a hard one.
The Neo.
No takers?
Wait.
I'm just going to guess. Matt.
Yep.
Was it like the most recent PS Vita?
No.
Luke.
Yep.
I'm going to say it was the Switch Lite.
No.
Okay.
Any guess, Adrian?
Nah, Game Boy Color.
Neo was the PS4 Pro.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And last one, the Edmonton.
Edmonton. Isn't that an Australian dessert?
God, I hate this because I know which company, but I have no idea which console.
No takers?
Edmonton. The fuck?
Can I get half a point?
yeah, sure.
It was Microsoft.
What hardware main console hasn't been named?
Xbox One S?
Yes.
Hey.
There you go.
Yeah.
You didn't say Luke, so the point goes to Matt.
Oh.
No.
Yes.
I think you both get half a point there.
I get a quarter of a point.
Nice.
And then I've got one more question. So the last question is, which of these game series had the most mainline releases this generation, not including remasters or ports?
Okay.
So which of these? Yeah. So this is a write down your answer one. So you've got Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, or FIFA.
What was the question?
So which of these game series had the most mainline releases, like this generation, main title releases? So not including remasters or ports.
Call of Duty, FIFA, and what was the other one?
Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
All right. Matt, what did you pick?
I put down FIFA.
Adrian?
FIFA.
Luke? COD. All right.
I read this God.
Call of Duty. The point goes to Luke. It was Call of Duty, but it's by a hair's width. So Call of Duty had, by my count, 8 this generation. Assassin's Creed had 5, and FIFA had 7.
Yeah.
Luke, how many Call of Duties can you name?
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I might be able to get a few, actually. Let's have a look. We've got COD Ghosts. We've got Infinite Warfare. We've got Modern Warfare. We've got the Modern Warfare remake or reboot.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count? Okay.
That's a reboot.
We've got Black Ops 2 and 3, I believe.
3.
Okay.
Not 2.
Not 2. Blocks 4. Call of Duty World War 2, or am I getting that confused? No, that's one of them. So I've got 6 there. That's a few.
It's more than 5.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Trip to Office Works.
7.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I can name any more.
So you said Infinite Warfare, right?
Yeah, Infinite and Modern I got.
Advanced Warfare.
Advanced, okay, yep.
Oh my
And
God.
Warzone.
Warzone, okay, yep.
You can put Infinite Advanced Ghost Warfare.
Makes sense.
And
Yeah.
then for FIFA, it's much easier. There was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, but that's me done.
Nice.
Awesome. All right.
Matt?
You go,
Adrian or me?
Matt. No, you go, Matt.
Okay, cool. I will go.
So,
Cool,
just
so
for the record, so far I have 1 point.
We make multiple choice to help the underdogs. That's how this works.
It's true. It's true. I was going to do a fun scoring thing, but I think I'll actually save it for another quiz. So I'll just do standard points.
All right.
So, accounting for inflation, which of the following games was the most expensive to develop in the last decade?
Okay, yep.
I thought this was going to be if a train leaves Penmouth Station.
You don't have to give me the
kilometers.
You don't have to give me a number. You just have to pick the game.
All right.
So the most expensive game to develop. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Destiny, APB All Points Bulletin, or Star Citizen.
I have a question.
Does it count because
Yes.
Star Citizen's not a real game?
That was my question.
It's being developed. It has a development budget, so it counts.
You said the most expensive out of all of those games.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I should clarify, again, in the last decade. Just to complicate matters for you.
I don't fucking know.
All right.
Wait,
Yep.
I changed my anthem. No, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get it wrong anyway. All right.
Points for confidence.
That's okay. This is actually a hard one because when I was looking through the list, I was like, "What?" Yeah. Okay. So Christian.
I had APB, but then I think that's more than 10 years, so I've gone for Modern Warfare 2. That was one of the options?
Yep. Okay. Luke.
I'm sure that I'll get caught on a technicality, but dollar value, it has to be. Surely, it has to be this. Yeah.
What is that?
It's a game by the developers that made Freelancer. It's a big open world space.
It is, to this date, the most expensive video game Kickstarter in history. Yeah.
And it's still taking money. It's still taking money for development, basically. Yeah.
I put APB, so I'm probably wrong.
If you'd like, I can.
You put ABV? Okay.
Yeah.
So you were right to kind of pick out the technicality, but you picked out the wrong game. So APB was in the last decade. Modern Warfare 2 was not. Modern Warfare 2 was actually 2009. Star Citizen, therefore, is actually the most expensive game to date, with a budget of $250 million approximately.
Yeah.
It's actually likely more.
Fucking insane. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like top 5 games. Like, this isn't actually the top 4. There was a couple of other games in there, but I was like, they're less interesting. Actually, so I had 6 questions. Since we missed one from Christian, do you want me to ask an extra question? Let's do that. All right, I'll strike out.
Survey says yes.
Which console released in Australia at the highest price point? The Xbox One, the PS4, the Wii U, or the Ouya? And I'll clarify something here. That's Xbox One with Kinect.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. We're all good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. I will start with Adrian first. What'd you put?
PS4.
Luke? Okay. And Christian?
That's PS4 for our audio listeners.
You're all wrong.
Oh.
Really?
It was actually the Xbox One with Kinect. It was actually $50 more expensive.
Wow, there you go.
Yep.
That fucking Kinect.
This is a nice, easy one because there's only two options. Mm-hmm. Which console released its revised, slimmer version first? The PS4 Slim or the Xbox One X?
Come on, 50-50.
Flip a coin, let's go. All right.
Hang on, Xbox One X, are you saying that it's the Xbox One S or...
I have put down Xbox One X. So the revised version. I shouldn't say slimmer, the revised version, I should say.
Oh, okay. Because there's PS4 Slim and PS4 Pro.
Yes,
So
I went with Slim.
Slim, so it's Slim versus X.
X, yeah. Which may cause some confusion. I apologize for that.
Yeah, okay.
Slim versus X.
Yeah.
Put it this way. These two things released within a month window of each other.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do remember it being pretty close.
Yeah.
Adrian, these are the best odds you've had all night, man.
Yeah. I have multiple choice. But I only have like 3 to 4 options. I haven't got like 5 or 7. All right, cool. So Luke, what'd you put?
Xbox.
Yep. Christian?
It's wrong.
I put Slim, PS4 Slim.
Yep. What'd you put down, Adrian?
Yeah, Xbox One X.
Xbox One X is correct.
Yay! Luke doesn't get a point because you didn't write One X.
It was one or the other.
The Xbox is a different console.
Fuck off.
The Xbox is a different console. You should not get a point for that.
It was shorthand for the only 2 options available.
Xbox One X was the 2nd of August, 2016, and PS4 Slim was September 7th, 2016. It's literally a month apart. That's why I kind of chose them because they were pretty close.
Yeah.
All right, so this is another one that's a little bit tricksy. Which console has the most playable titles on it? The Xbox One, the PS4, or the Wii and the Wii U combined?
Playable titles.
Playable titles.
Mm.
To answer the question, I know that you're thinking backwards compatibility does count.
Okay, cool.
Big shrug from Adrian. This one actually shocked me when I did this. I was actually quite surprised. I think you're still thinking, Christian.
Yeah, because I have a surely not. So maybe it is. And it seems obvious.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the seems quote unquote seems obvious.
All right. What'd you choose? What'd you choose?
Wii and Wii U.
Okay. Luke.
Also Wii U.
And Adrian.
Yeah, same. Wii U.
Oh my god, you're all wrong.
Oh.
Yay!
It is actually the Xbox One. Xbox One. Like
that was my surely not.
Yeah.
But,
so
yeah.
PS4 had 2,789 titles.
Yeah, PS4. Yeah.
Xbox One X 2,549.
Wow.
600 backwards compatible titles.
Oh, of course. Yeah, because they did a massive push for that. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep. Wii and Wii U combined, only 2,035.
Oh.
I challenge your sources because that has the entire GameCube, Wii, and Wii U, most Super Nintendo, most N64, Neo Geo.
That could be
NES.
right. When I actually looked it up, like, because that's why I added Wii and Wii U.
Like, got Master System and Genesis and everything on the virtual console.
know. It may not have been counting virtual console titles for some reason. Because I had to look into that for the Xbox One as well.
Yeah, if we're talking like physical discs, that the Xbox makes a lot of sense because the whole backwards compatible thing works with those discs for sure. So,
But put it this way:
shovelware on the Wii.
there was a lot of shovelware on the Wii, but this. So when I did the maths, so the number when I look it up, Xbox One was 2,549, and then you look up backwards compatible titles, and it's 600 plus, right? The Wii and the Wii U were both like one of them had like just under 1,000 titles, and the other one had just over 1,000 titles.
Is that counting GameCube though? Because you can pop a GameCube disc into a Wii.
There's not counting GameCube in terms of backwards compatibility, but it depends on which ones. So it's not for Xbox either. I had to add on the extra 600. So they were already like they're over 1,000 titles behind the leader there. So unless they've done a lot of work on their backwards compatibility, I'm not sure.
But controversy aside, if it had been Wii U, we would have all got the point anyway. So it changes nothing.
Yes, it does change nothing. Yeah, it's worth looking into. But when I did my research, like that was one that actually quite surprised me. Like I say. All right, two more. According to Metacritic, which console had the lowest rated game by Metascore? So exclusive the lowest. Game? Yes. Actually, no, not exclusive. Because obviously different versions on different consoles. So the options are Xbox One, PS4, and I went with the Switch this time. So which one had the lowest rated game? According to Metacritic. There may be others out there.
Yeah, that's tough, because it could be some game that just got review bombed for some reason.
Yeah.
This is critic score, right?
This is critic score, not user score, because otherwise, if I went with user score, 90% of games would have a 0. So,
yeah.
Waiting for Luke.
I want to take a stab in the dark at the game as well.
Oh, okay. I'll start with you then, while Luke's writing down his answer.
I got it.
So, I reckon PS4, and there was a game called Life of Black Tiger. That's my guess.
Okay. Luke?
I went with... That's a Switch.
The Switch. No wonder it took you so long to answer that goddamn question. You put down Switch? Christian, you're right. But it was not that game. Okay. It was a game called Orc Slayer.
Right.
Yeah, which was apparently popular enough to get a Metacritic score. But not popular enough to have a good review score because it only got a 15.
I was reasonably confident that it wasn't Xbox because I was looking at the Xbox bottom of list earlier today.
Yeah.
Not in comparison to the other two, but it struck me that the Xbox ones actually, the lowest rated games weren't actually that bad. Like, I think it bottoms out at about 30 or something. So, yeah.
Life of Black Tiger only had one critic review, so it might not have counted. It
may not have counted.
But only one game, only one reviewer. But.
So Xbox One actually had a multi-platform game as its lowest one because it was also on the PS4 and it was Rugby 15, which had a review score of 20. Switch had a game called Vroom in the Night Sky, which had a review score of 17, and then Orc Slayer, which had a review score of 15.
Nice.
So yeah, PS4 had the lowest reviewing one.
And this one, Orc Slayer next week.
And this is where I kind of go completely off the rails with the console thing. And basically just like the last decade, because I thought it was kind of a fun question. Of the following MMORPGs, which did not release in the last decade?
Okay.
So, Star Trek Online, Lord of the Rings Online, Final Fantasy 15 Online, the original one, not the remade one, and Star Wars: The Old Republic. Which one did not release in the last decade? Another stroke from Adrian.
Okay. All right.
I'm on a total of 2 points.
I'm seriously not much higher.
All right, cool. Adrian, what'd you put down?
Lord of the Rings.
Okay, cool. Luke, what'd you put down?
Yep, also Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
I put Lord of the Rings 2, yeah.
You all got it right.
Yay!
My justification behind that is because there's another games podcast that I used to listen to a long time ago, back when I actually very first started World's End Radio, going back fucking ages, and one of the hosts on that show actually played Lord of the Rings Online, so I did the math and I was pretty certain it fell.
They only had all those games only had 4 years between them. Like there's a bunch of MMOs that are in that period, and it's basically like in the 3 years after World of Warcraft got mega popular.
Yeah.
So Star Trek Online was 2010, Lord of the Rings Online was 2007, Final Fantasy 15 Online was 2010, and Star Wars: The Old Republic was 2011. So like they all had just a couple of years between them.
Yeah. Old Republic,
Yep.
what a top game. I still love that MMO.
It's a great single player game. It sucks as an MMO.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Cool. My turn.
Bring us home.
These questions might be too simple, and dumb. So forgive me. I had a real hard time. Question number 1: of the current generation consoles, which is the highest selling?
Ooh. Current generation, not including Switch? Because are we talking current generation?
Including Switch.
Including Switch, okay. Yeah.
Your answers, please. Christian.
PS4.
Luke.
I'm just writing down the exact sales figure.
You lose a point. Matt.
PS4.
Okay, the answer is PS4. Luke's answer doesn't matter. What was that number you had there?
It was over 120 million units.
Not only were you too hasty, but I have a different figure, so you're wrong. I have 106 million units.
-1 point for Luke.
Your figure's bullshit.
Well, it's still my answer, so you're wrong. Question number 2. What is the best-selling game of this current generation?
Oh,
shit.
I think I know this.
Shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games it could be.
If I'm not right,
I'm not giving you multiple choice.
if I'm not right, I'll be close, I'm sure. Oh, hang on.
The best-selling game on at least one of the consoles, but I don't know how.
Adrian, are we including games that have existed outside of this generation?
I don't know. I don't know whether they are outside this generation.
Let me just hypothetically float an obvious one. Like if we're talking things like Minecraft, you know.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No?
Okay.
I don't know. But no.
All right. I have a wild
Luke,
guess.
Go ahead.
All right. I reckon it's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? Matt?
GTA 5. But that may not be
And Christian?
I put PUBG.
Okay, you're wrong. The best-selling game this generation was Mario Kart 8 at 26.74 million copies.
Huh.
Second was Uncharted 4 at 15 million. And PUBG at 8 million was third.
I
think.
How old are those figures? I'm sure that Uncharted's been superseded.
Maybe all my answers.
No.
I looked up in research for this. I know Uncharted is the best-selling PS4. I know PUBG is the best-selling Xbox game.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
I think that sounds right. Or maybe that's actually because those are all different consoles.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah,
It's like the top for each console, maybe.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But none of us are right anyway. So
I think they are the best selling for each console, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best selling of those three.
Yes, yeah. So we're all wrong anyway.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Animal Crossing hasn't pipped the highest yet. No.
It's higher than Breath of the Wild, but it hasn't beaten Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Next question. Number three.
Yep.
Which is the heaviest console of this generation?
That's fantastic.
I'm gonna write down Ouya. On live.
The answer is Google Stadia.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. I've never picked up this console that I've written down.
Good.
I could, if you're thinking the one that I'm thinking of, I could reach over and grab it right now.
What's about?
Oh, that's about 50 kilos.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Luke.
Original Xbox One.
Xbox One.
Oh.
Matt.
Original Xbox One.
And Christian.
Yeah, I put Xbox One X.
Yeah, it is the original Xbox One at 3.8 kilos.
Yep.
And the PS4 Pro comes in second at 3.3 kilos.
I've got the
Wow, that's actually that close.
I've got the actual console sitting right in front of me, and this thing is massive. Yeah,
It is fucking huge. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually touched any type of Xbox One ever.
There you go. All right, question number 4. What is the worst video game of our current generation?
The worst.
The worst
Hang on.
video game. What is the worst video game?
is it you? According to Adrian?
No, it's not according to me. It's just what is the worst.
All right.
There is only one answer.
I've got a good guess.
No,
Yeah.
I also have a good guess, but I'm pretty sure it is according to Adrian.
All right, go, Christian.
Is it Fallout 76?
Matt?
Also Fallout 76.
Yeah, Luke?
Is it this quiz?
I was waiting.
He didn't write one down. He didn't write anything. Too late. He didn't write anything.
Fallout 76, I don't fucking know.
Yes, it is Fallout 76. Well done. Good job, guys. All right. My last question. Question number 5. Which of the following current generation crab games are real? A. Crab Champion. B. Fight Crab. D. Oh Crab. Or C. King of Crabs.
I actually know the answer to this.
Which of the following current generation crab games are real? Luke?
Fight Crab!
Fight Crab. Christian?
I put Fight Crab 2.
Matt?
Fight Crab.
You're all wrong. They're all real. They're all real.
Oh, Crab?
Yeah.
I thought you were piss taking like Oh Dear. Remember that?
No, it's called Oh Crab.
That's amazing.
They're all real games.
Sensational.
Do we get a quarter of a point?
I actually think that Christian got this one wrong because he said Fight Crab 2, and there's no sequel to that game yet. So,
We get nothing.
You get nothing.
We stole fizzy lifting drink.
good day, sir. I said good day.
Excellent reference.
Yeah.
That's all my questions. That's all I had.
Great job. Sensational, guys.
2 of them I just made up. Had nothing, barely anything to do with this generation.
I think you redeemed your early performance, Adrian. That was sensational.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. You could have done a whole crab themed round, and I would have loved it.
I could have.
Absolutely. Nice. All right.
Stores.
Did anyone actually track that stuff? Do we have to go back and listen to it all? Because
I've been marking myself and my total.
I have mine tracked.
yeah,
mine tracked.
I'm actually reasonably sure that Matt took this out.
I think so too. I got 6.5 points in my count.
Yeah.
What'd you get, Luke?
I think I missed one, but I was just behind 7, so I would have been probably 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, apparently, I'm an Xbox nerd, and I had 9.5.
Yeah.
I'd veto.
I actually don't know that much about it. I didn't actually buy one at launch. It was after, and I bought it fucking pre-owned, and I've probably used it for one single game, and that was playing my old Halo Xbox 360 games.
Yep.
So,
Do you drink a lot of Monster Energy drink, Matt?
no, not at all.
Yep. It's funny, like you almost associate Death Stranding with Xbox as a result of that connection. That's a weird thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Sensational. But yeah, that's a cool look back at the last gen. It feels like a lot longer when you think about some of the early events of that generation, because it seems like a freaking lifetime ago, like much more than 10 years in my mind at least. But no, it's been a lot less than that. So yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the kickoff to possibly one of the most bizarre kickoffs to a next gen this year with everything else that's going on around the world at the same time. It's just going to be so strange. So yeah. And
I want to make an unpopular prediction right now and say I think one of the consoles is going to get delayed.
Ooh, okay. Adrian, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that, like, of all the consoles I've owned, the PlayStation 4, I've played the least and have the least amount of games for.
Really?
Like, out of any console. Yeah, in my history of owning consoles.
Interesting.
Like, I've definitely played it the least and have the least number of games on it. To the point where, like, I wonder if I'll even bother getting the next one. Like, depending on what comes out on it, or what they advertise it with. Like, because you can play almost anything on PC anyway. Like, I don't know if I could justify buying one, to be honest.
Well, especially with the next gen Xbox games, it seems like if you've got a decent PC, you're going to be still in the loop for most of that content for the foreseeable future. So yeah,
like Spider-Man's cool, but I don't think I will get one just to play Spider-Man. And like I'm not invested in properties. The only thing I can think of is maybe wanting one for Mortal Kombat and like fighting games, but that's purely for the practicality of being able to take the console to a location, like not because of the titles itself.
Yep, 100%. Well, I mean, if you're an early adopter, you're always going to have that as the situation anyway for a while. I mean, buying a console on launch is pretty much for the diehards that are a bit nuts about just being in the thick of the early wave, just for, I don't know, massive EP sake or whatever. Yes, I'm totally getting one on launch.
Yeah, see, like I don't actually know if I'll get a PS5. And I know for a fact I'm probably never going to buy the Xbox Series X. I don't need to. So
yeah, well, I mean, with the Switch, we're all kind of covered for current gen for a while anyway, because that's still going to maintain its relevancy for ages, I think. So. Yeah.
Maybe that's where my loyalties lie more, is that I would probably buy a new Nintendo console.
Yeah. But I mean, given the shelf life of Nintendo mobile consoles, like, I don't know if you'll need to have that conversation with yourself for quite some time. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 3DS lasted so bloody long. Like they released versions with different features, but it was still the 3DS.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, probably in it for a long time, a Switch.
All right, but yeah, all right. Well, anyway, we've pretty much hit time, so that is a show, gentlemen. Thank you very much for all your contributions tonight, especially the quiz questions, which were a lot of fun. That was cool, and hopefully everybody watching now or later had some fun with that, and be interested to see how you went. And if you have any awesome quiz questions ideas that we could potentially use in future, send them in to us, because there's always going to be a place for us to use that kind of content in the future. That would be great. So
absolutely,
yeah. Or requests for quiz topics or genres or areas of interest that we could frame some questions around. I think there's a lot of untapped potential out there, but this is kind of like a current, I guess, relevance thing that we'll be able to think of some other stuff sort of maybe leading up to the end of the year. But yeah. All right, this week, I think we're all playing a bit of Destiny. Surprise! Christian, I'm going to start Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm looking forward to chatting about that with you in the next couple of weeks. That would be good.
I want to for her birthday, my wife got the Ring Fit adventure. So once she has a go, I want to have a go, but I'm not going to do it before her.
I have to actually wait for some stuff to arrive for my Ring Fit because it came without a freaking leg strap. So
oh
really?
Yeah.
Yep. That sucks.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for that to arrive.
Just get some duct tape and strap the joint.
Tape it onto my fucking leg. Never take it off again.
It's like what Microsoft did with the Kinect, though. Like, you can actually get a version of that with it not in there, which costs less. It's good if you strap for cash. So.
As soon as you start talking, that's going to be
yeah.
All right. That's us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll see you again next episode. Till then, good night.
See you, gang.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.